Hey, happy Monday. I am really excited to be here with you this morning on a Monday. I know a lot of people get the Monday morning blues, but I just want to say I love Mondays because it's a fresh start. And hopefully, I can give you something today that will help kind of motivate you and inspire you to take action. And hopefully, that can help you transform your life because motivation is great. Inspiration is even better, but transformation is what we're really after. Before I really get started, I just wanted to let you know we're having a crazy thunderstorm here in Orlando, Florida right now. So if it cuts out, I hope it doesn't. Hopefully the power stays on for during our live, but just want to let you know what's going on. So really excited to be here with you this week. Last week we talked about the relationship web. So the framework that I developed in order for us to really understand how our relationships work. Because what bottom line is, if you don't understand something, then it's difficult to do anything about it, right? Tony Robbins says that ignorance is not bliss, ignorance is death. I know that's a really extreme way to put it, but it's so true so many times. And if we're ignorant of how our relationships work, it could end up being the death of the relationship. So it's really important to understand how they work. So last week we talked about the relationship web. I kind of gave you, what do they call that? A 30,000 foot view. I just gave you an overview of how it worked, really the structure and foundation of a healthy and strong relationship. So I give you that overview. But for the next several weeks, I want to go a little bit deeper into each one of those ties. So there's six ties in the relationship web in this framework, in the structure of how our relationships work. And it doesn't matter if it's your intimate relationships. It doesn't matter if it's your relationship with your kids, your colleagues, your team, whatever it is. Real relationships, they all have the same fundamentals. They all have the six ties. And the six ties, real quick, are trust, love, communication, appreciation, mutual growth, and true presence. So those are the six ties. But what we're going to really focus in on today is trust. So I want to stress real quick that all the ties are equally important. So it's a web. All of them are interlocking together. And if one begins to get weak, then it can weaken the rest of the web because they're all connected. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know before we dive in that they're all equally important. It's not like trust is the number one and the rest are not as important. They're all equally important, but obviously I had to put them in some kind of order, right? So the first tie in the web is trust. We always hear that trust is a must in relationships, right? And we've all heard that cliche, but what does that really mean, right? What does that actually mean when we talk about trust? What exactly is trust? Well, let's break it down. So the first element of trust is vulnerability. Trust is about being vulnerable, but it goes even further than that. It's about holding that space in your relationship for the other person to be vulnerable. Have you ever been in a relationship where you had to walk on eggshells all the time? Like no matter what you said, it would maybe set someone off. There's no trust there. I know I've had relationships like that throughout the years. There's been family members sometimes. There's been acquaintances. There's been people that I had to watch every single word I said. Otherwise, it would set them off and it got ugly. So that's not trust. That's not vulnerability. When you can be vulnerable, it makes you feel safe. It helps you to be able to pour your true self into that relationship. And this level of trust, when you're vulnerable, allows you to show up as the real me or the real you, right? So when I'm coming to the relationship, I'm bringing me. I'm bringing the real, genuine, authentic me. I'm not putting up these walls. Right? Because without the trust, that's what's going to happen. Without trust and vulnerability, you put up the walls. And you really can't have a deep, meaningful relationship without vulnerability, with those walls up. So that's number one. The second one is partnership. So trust is important in a relationship because it's about knowing someone is on your side. It's about having someone in your corner. It's about having someone to root for you. And I know sometimes that sounds so simple, but there's moments in our life where we feel like we're alone. And like I said before, no one is an island. But when you have someone in your corner, when you have someone supporting you, when you have someone there to lift you up when things get hard, that's one of the fundamental pieces of trust, is knowing that someone's there, just knowing that you have a partner. So that's number 2. The third is consistency. So trust is one of the most important components of trust, is consistency. When they do something consistently, it shows the other person that they honor their commitments. This is huge in a relationship because people are always watching you. Remember that. And if you're someone, let's say, for instance, you're someone that works out every single day, right? But then you skip a day. People are going to start to notice. Now, you may not think that they will. You may be like, yeah, it's just one day, and they may not say anything, but this is going to slowly start the process of eroding that trust. And don't underestimate the small things when it comes to consistency. The small things, the small actions, the small habits, those are what make up the big results. So don't underestimate staying consistent in the small things. So that's number 3. Number 4 is transparency, being honest about who you are and how you show up. This is getting harder and harder when it comes to the world we live in today, with all the distractions and the social media and the filters and everything. Showing up who you are and being transparent about who you really are, it's becoming harder and harder, and it's becoming rarer and rarer. But I want to give you some hope, because when you show up as you become magnetic. When you're transparent and you say, look, this is who I am, that quality is magnetic. That draws people in. But here's the thing. You got to be transparent about your weaknesses too. Believe it or not, transparency about your weaknesses and really looking for support from the other person's strength is going to build trust really quickly. So make sure that you're honest about your weaknesses as well as your strengths. So that's number 4. Number 5 is reliability. Always do what you say you're going to do. Even, like I said, even with the small things. Have you ever known someone that, I know someone personally, I'm not going to mention his name, but have you ever known someone that just says that they're going to show up to something, or they're going to go help you with this, or they got your back, and then something always comes up? Maybe I shouldn't say always, that's a generalization, but it seems like always something comes up, right? And without fail, they never show up when they say they're gonna. This is not the way to build trust. Being unreliable, I call it the silent killer of relationships, because it's one thing, and then it's another thing, and then it's eventually it starts to eat away at the relationship. Always show up on time. Always be reliable. Be the person that does what they say they're going to do. That's what builds trust. That's what builds the relationship. So reliability is huge. And like I said, you may think like, well, nobody's told me that that's what I do. They're not going to tell you. Most people are not going to say anything. It's just going to, like I said, it's a silent killer. It's going to start to erode. It's going to start to eat away. And eventually you wake up one day and realize that there's no relationship there. The web is gone. So reliability is huge. And number 6 is boundaries. When you set clear boundaries for yourself and then insist that the other person in the relationship does the same, your relationship is going to flourish. Now, let me clarify that, okay? Boundaries are not walls. I don't mean boundaries like you put these walls up around yourself. I mean, they're clear lines that say, this is what I'll allow and this is what I won't. This is what I'm going to tolerate. Tony Robbins says, you get what you tolerate. So you set boundaries, not just for others, but set boundaries to honor your own values and your own needs. Believe it or not, this actually creates a safe environment. It creates respect, and it actually deepens the connection because you're being honest about who you are. You're saying, no, I'm not going to do that because that's not who I am. These are my boundaries. Like for example, I was talking about working out earlier. If you say, my boundary is that when I'm doing, you can do this with time. When I'm doing my workout, this is a must for me. It's a consistent action that I do every single day. And if you stick to that and you create this boundary saying, no, while I'm doing my workout, no one bothers me. That's just an example. You set those boundaries, people will respect you. Now, you may get some kickback at first when you start to set those boundaries. You may get some kickback at first, but stick to the boundaries and eventually people will respect that you're consistent and that you know what you want and you know who you are. That's why boundaries are so important. Now, trust is one of the most important and critical elements in a relationship. Okay. What I want you to do this week is pick a relationship this week and ask yourself these questions. Ask yourself questions that apply to these 6 points. Am I being vulnerable? And am I inviting vulnerability in this relationship? Am I actually inviting it in? Then ask yourself, am I really supporting this person? Am I in their corner? Am I really there for them? Am I present, but am I there in person, but am I really supporting them? After that, ask yourself, am I consistent in my actions? Are they seeing my consistency, and is it building trust or is it eroding it because I'm not staying consistent? I'm not keeping my word. Then ask yourself, am I being transparent? Am I being open and honest about whatever's going on in this relationship? Okay, could be good, could be bad. Am I being transparent? Am I being transparent about my weaknesses too? And I don't mean, whine and complain about it. That's not what I mean about at all. What I mean is just be open about your weaknesses so that you can invite their strengths in and you can use your strengths to help them. Then ask, have I been reliable in the past? Are there things that I've done that have started to deteriorate that reliability? And then finally, ask yourself, have I set boundaries for myself and honored those boundaries in others? Trust really is a must. That old adage, trust is a must. It's so true. Now, I want to invite any leaders in real estate. If you're a leader if you're an office manager, or if you're a broker, or you're a team leader, whatever, or if you're an aspiring leader, you're someone that wants to be a leader in real estate, and you're interested in learning how this relationship web works on a much deeper level, then I would love to connect with you. Just book a discovery session. There's a link in my bio. It just says discovery session. And let's decide where you're at. Let's find out what areas that you feel like you need help with to move forward and to really unlock your potential, to really dig deep into your relationships and start to expand those relationships. Let's find out where you are, where you want to get, and let's build that map, build that bridge to get you from where you are to where you want to be. I would love to help you with that. So that's the first tie. That's trust. Next week, we're going to be talking about love. And I would highly encourage you, and I want to invite you to come back next week. Even if we're not talking about intimate relationships, we're talking about relationships in general. Love is a component in any relationship. So I'll see you next week. Thank you for being here on Monday. Thank you if you're not here right now, if you're coming back to watch the replay. Thank you for watching. And you guys have a great week. Start to think about ways that you can reinforce trust in your relationships this week. And I'll see you next week. Bye.